If your music career is f***ed, I'll help you save it in 24 hours. I spent years making music and producer content with nothing to show for it. But once I found a simple system, my music actually started making me money, landing me placements, and growing my brand. So in this video, I'll show you the 24-hour reset plan to get your music career back on track today, tools that will make sticking to this plan way easier, and 5 laws that will break you out of your mental blocks and creative ruts fast. To start, you need to understand the biggest mistake that keeps producers stuck, so you know how to avoid it. Law 1, aim before you fire. Now, at some point in your life, you've probably played Call of Duty, and you already know if you're just spraying without aiming, you're gonna get cooked. This can be applied to your music career. When I started, I knew I needed to take action consistently, but I didn't know what actions I needed to take specifically. Here's the workflow that fixed it, and you can do that right now. All right, so I've got a couple of tools that I give to my mentorship students, but today, you can have them for free. Our first tool is Producer Focus. We're gonna use this to figure out what your priorities are and what tasks you need to do that are in line with these priorities. So what's your number 1 priority for the next 3 months? For the sake of the video, let's just say all I care about is landing placements. Now that we've established our top priority, we're onto our second priority. So we can go with growing your brand or selling beats, because either of these will only increase our chances of getting this placement. So let's go for growing your brand. Now we've been given all the tasks that relate to these 2 goals, with these tasks in red being your absolute top priority tasks to do to land you those placements. Now, the reason why I've kept it as a 3-month focus plan instead of like a year is because 3 months is close enough for it to feel urgent, but it's long enough to see at least a bit of progress. If you set yourself a massive task for the end of the year, your chances of drifting away from that are very high. Just look at what happened last year. Now let's restart that, and let's say our main priority is selling kits online and growing our brand. Now we know our most important tasks are sound design and sample making for making our kits, web design and email marketing for our backend, and posting content for organic traffic to our kits, and then we can just ignore everything else for the next couple of months. And now that we've got our aim, how do we consistently keep firing? That's a callback to my Call of Duty reference that I made before. You don't care. Now that we've got our task, we can just hit this blue button here, which will take us to our consistency tracker. Now all we have to do is enter in our goals and tasks from Producer Focus. Now, since we want to land placements, we know that making the beats are our main priority. So let's give this a tick on this flag. Making samples, posting our type beats, then networking. Now you can just adjust the task amount depending on your schedule. So for example, let's say you want to make 3 quality beats a week. We just hit this plus. You want to post 3 type beats per week onto your YouTube channel, and you want to send out weekly samples once. You want to post 3 Instagram reels, and you want to reach out to 5 new producers a week or 5 artists a week, whichever. Now, as we do these tasks, we can just check them off. Then you can build up your consistency streak for every week you manage to get all of your tasks done. Then using it week by week, you can hold yourself accountable because you can visually see when you're messing up. And now that we've got our game plan covered, every 3 months, we just look at how things are going and we reassess. What's working? What isn't? Do we need to adjust our strategy? So we have our plan, but there's one huge issue that's going to make this plan that you've just made completely useless, unless you follow this next law. Law 2, be a bit dumber. Now, I know this sounds wild, but let me land. A lot of the pain that we experience as producers stems from overthinking. Stuff like, am I good enough to have a career in music? This isn't as good as what I saw that other producer make. If it's not perfect, it's not worth posting. If I put myself out there, people are gonna think I'm corny. That self-doubt is your brain trying to eliminate risk before you've even taken action. And it makes everything just matter way too much. So every action you do take will feel 10 times harder. And every time you don't get the results you want, it's gonna hurt 10 times more because it reinforces those doubts that you had in your mind. This is a big part of why you feel overwhelmed or drained at times. But the fix is simple. Be a little dumber. Act before your brain negotiates you out of it. Post that beat or piece of content you're not sure about. DM that producer you don't think will respond, only if you have value to provide to them. Most of my placements came from beats or loops that I made in like 20 minutes and I was just fucking around. And I almost didn't send them. Same thing with content. My best performing content has always been the stuff that I didn't really take too seriously, that felt effortless to make. You felt this in your door too. When you're forcing a beat, it usually sounds like absolute booty cheeks. But when you're having fun, just messing around, you somehow come up with your best shit. This applies to every aspect of being a producer. Have a little delusional optimism that everything's gonna work out and attach yourself to the action instead of the result. Once you've made your game plan like we just did, just mindlessly follow it. I promise you, in a couple of months' time, you're going to be way further ahead because you're not stuck up here. And now that we can put our plan into action without overthinking, there is one thing no producer can escape. And if you don't know how to handle it, you're cooked. Law 3. Producer depression. Producer depression is inevitable. It doesn't matter whether you've just started out or you've been producing for years. And because I'm a nerd, I've made a little formula for it. Producer depression is lack of progress plus isolation plus overthinking. That's you. You're a very sad boy. And when you're in that state, you slowly start stacking habits that keep you in that state for even longer. Maybe you'll start drinking more or smoking more weed to avoid the fact that things aren't going your way. Maybe you'll start eating like shit and skipping the gym. You can't completely avoid this feeling, but you can get out of it as fast as possible. So let's attack that formula. Lack of progress. Focus on the smaller wins. You might not have that placement with Central C yet, but you showed up today and posted that content. You might not be making $1 bajillion a month, but you just made your first beat sale or kit sale. 9 times out of 10, you are progressing, but the results aren't immediate, so you just don't realize it yet. Isolation. Leave your house, see some friends, go on a date, touch some fucking grass, my boy. Overthinking. Refer to law 1. It's so easy to tie your self-worth to how your music career is going. It's hard not to, so I keep this quote in my head at all times. The depth of your struggle determines the height of your success. The part that I left out was that it was R. Kelly that said that, but it's still a good quote. So if you're breathing, you can still make music, and you've got a computer, you are not cooked. Don't give up, or I will call you a bitch. Now, there is something producers do not talk about enough, and you might not want to hear it, but you need to. Law 4. Get a fucking job, bro. Now, this Sigma grind set idea that having a job is something to be embarrassed about is something I do not agree with. The majority of my mentorship students always ask me this same question at some point in time. What is the fastest way to leave my job and go all in with the music? And unfortunately, the answer is, for most of us, there is no fast way. But if you fall in love with the process and play the long game, whether it takes 6 months or 3 years, you're gonna get there. Something people don't talk about enough is that when you have an income source outside of music, it takes an immense pressure off of your shoulders. You can experiment, learn and build without feeling like every action you take needs to pay your rent. You can invest money from your job into equipment and software. Don't look at working a regular job as quitting on your music. Look at it as buying more time to build and experiment. Luckily, I'm in a position right now where I can just concentrate on music. But you best believe if I had like a slow 6 months, I'm gonna find some fucking freelance work in my old career because I refuse to be broke. If you're working full time, but you're making a decent living from your music already, and you got some savings in the bank, go all in for a few months and see what happens. But if you're not there yet, work the job, work on your music career as much as you can, and play the long game. Look at J Cactus, Infinite, LLB, Ocean, Steppers, Lollipop, Try-Freeze. They all found a way. And if they can do it, why can't you? This brings me to the most important law. Without this, nothing I've said up until now matters. Law 5. Pain of commitment or pain of regret. You need to decide to pick your pain. The pain of committing to making a career out of this, trying, failing, and figuring things out, or the pain of just giving up and regretting it a couple years from now. There's one thing that every producer that you look up to has in common. They decided. They committed before their skill level was ready. They committed before they even knew the exact path to take. The time's gonna pass for you either way, so why not just commit? And yeah, this might all sound like common sense, but common sense has no use if you're not taking action. Knowing something and doing it are two completely different things. So here's what you're gonna do today. Pick 1 to 2 3-month goals. List the tasks needed to achieve them. Make your most important tasks, then your smaller ones that you do if you have time. Track them daily with the consistency tracker and just execute it blindly. Also, for some accountability, I want you to scroll to the comments and comment your 3-month goal. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the video, I run a one-on-one mentorship program. This program doesn't promise you 10K a month in 3 months or guaranteed placements or any of that guru bullshit. But what I can promise you is step-by-step guidance and advice tailored to you and your situation, with a set of systems that we build together that you can follow to get to your goals. If you're the type of producer who understands that anything worth building takes time and that having feedback and accountability will speed this process up dramatically, just hit the link in the description and book a free call with me where we can have a chill chat to see if you're a good fit for the program. Anyway, if you made it all the way through this yapping session, I do appreciate you. As a thank you, here's some practical advice that you can apply today to blow up your social media.